This is Matt Taven, the most decorated athlete in Ring of Honor history, and you are listening to the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, with Justin Simmons, here's Stu Myrick.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the horn. Stu Myrick. Justin Smash Simmons will join me here in just a little bit. But first, I had a chance last week to catch up with a good friend of ours. Last couple of weeks, been thinking about him a lot, especially with the 1-year anniversary of G1 Supercard happening a couple weeks ago. The incredible event in Madison Square Garden with Ring of Honor in New Japan. And it was on that night that this man literally and figuratively climbed the ladder to sit atop Ring of Honor as their world champion. He joined me via the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. He is the former Ring of Honor world champion, a Grand Slam champion in Ring of Honor, has held belts in CMLL, New Japan, and all over the place. It was great to talk to my good friend, Matt Taven. And we started out the conversation by talking about us meeting for the first time at a Subway restaurant in Lakeland, Florida, right near the arena where they were doing Supercard of Honor in 2017. And I'd said that was such a cool moment for us to be standing in line together, and we met and became good friends, and he seemed to agree.
Hey, what's going on, man? Who would have thought a Subway double chicken chop salad would form this long-term relationship? How are you? How is quarantine going for you?
I'm doing okay. The radio gig keeps going, even with the lack of sports. We still have the draft and everything, and then the real life gig keeps going because I work in state government, so that's always going. But more importantly, how are you? How's everything in your world? How are you dealing with the quarantine?
Everything in my world extremely different. I'll tell you that much. It's weird. I'm fine. When you boil things down to the nitty gritty, but it's just such a strange world we're living in. And the guys text each other and just kind of see how everyone's doing. You can just tell everyone's so itching to get back to normal and just get back on the road. And man, I had the ankle surgery in December, and I've been rehabbing, and now this is going on. It's felt like a lifetime since I've been able to wrestle and get back in the ring. So for me, I'm like, crawling up the walls. I'm walking on the ceiling at this point. I'm definitely ready for things to get back to normal. I think this has just been such a whirlwind of a situation for everyone that it just kind of feels like it was dropped upon us, and now things have had a little bit of time to settle, and now it's kind of that, all right, so when can we get back to how we were before? And with no answers in sight, it's just got that unsettling feeling. So trying to fight that at all times, but besides major life existential dilemmas, I'm absolutely fine.
Well, good. How's the ankle?
The ankle's not bad. One of the biggest disappointments, or one of the biggest setbacks for me with the coronavirus, is that my physical therapy office and the doctor's office is closed. I'm able to talk with my PT and my surgeons via Skype interviews or Skype calls, I should say, but it's just not the same. It's not the same as going in and being able to be on the machines that help your recovery and talk to talk to your doctor, kind of bounce ideas off him, tell him how you're feeling, let him gauge where you're at. It's a whole lot different, kind of just having to explain to someone and hoping that they understand where you're coming from. And just the exercise alone, it's always easier to do things with a partner and a helping hand. And I'm trying to do as much as humanly possible by myself at home. To me, it just doesn't feel the same, but it's the cards we're dealt right now, and I can only do what I'm in control of. And right now I'm just trying to get as much rehab done as home as humanly possible for both the knee and ankle. And I hope that when all this is over with, I can be that much closer to getting back in the ring.
How much does you're talking about rehab, and usually when wrestlers rehab, they're rehabbing with a certain date in mind to get back in the ring, depending on whatever the injury is. With the current situation, with the we don't know when wrestling will happen in ring again, and when fans can watch it. How much does that affect your rehab, and I guess maybe even your motivation? I mean, how hard? I mean, how much of that kind of do you have to go through, like a struggle sometimes, thinking, well, yeah, I'm going to get better, but I don't know when I'm going to get back in the ring, because they don't know when we're going to get back in the ring.
I think without a doubt, it's human nature. It's one of those things where, especially rehabbing an injury. I've had 2 surgeries in the last couple of months, and so to rehab 2 separate injuries is a heavy process. And it's there's some days where you just don't want to do it, but then again, when you're able to go to a place, like your physical therapy office, it helps you motivate to keep going. It definitely is on me now to continuously to motivate myself to not be like, you can take today off. We don't even know when we're going to get back to it, because when we do get back to it, like I said, I want to be as close as humanly possible to getting back in the ring. So it's definitely a struggle, and it's definitely something that I have to find in myself, to wake up in the morning and kind of set goals for myself and act like it's a normal day, because it's easy to just be like, oh man, I should probably just watch the news all day, right? And then eat ice cream. And as much as I love doing that, and I want to do that, I have to, at this point, push myself to make sure I'm keeping my focus on rehabbing. And so it's definitely a difficult process. It's something that I wasn't expecting, to be rehabbing by myself at home all day. But again, I just have to make the most of the situation.
And you're right. There are times, I watch the news. I've been watching the news quite a bit, and there are times you have to push back just for the sake of your mental well-being, because it weighs on you, and sometimes I have to kind of turn it off, and whether it's watching Honor Club or just any myriad of other forms of entertainment. You're right. You got to push back. Talking with Matt Taven. Let me ask you this: what is it that you are watching nowadays, streaming, whether it's Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, whatever? What's been catching your eye lately?
It's you're absolutely right too. It's that the news can get you in such a mental space that it's not healthy to continuously harp on it or obsess over it, because a lot of things too are contradicting. So you don't know what to think, and your mind just kind of scrambles and is racing at all times. But I think, like everyone else, I'm finding an escape with the forms of entertainment that I always have. And for a wrestling fan, I think right now is like a very special time, because there's been so much wrestling in the past year that there's no way I feel like anyone could keep up with all of it. So I've had an opportunity to kind of go back and watch a lot of it, rewatch a lot of the stuff that happened on Honor Club. Just recently was the anniversary of Madison Square Garden. I had a chance to sit down, watch it, write about it. And in reality, I really didn't have a chance to do that, because if you think about it, a week after winning it, I'm in Pittsburgh defending the title against Flip Gordon, and it just goes on and on and on, and you really don't have much downtime to kind of sit and smell the roses. But right now, I'm able to catch up with a lot of stuff of not just myself, but the entire Ring of Honor roster has been having, especially the past couple of events of 2020, were on fire, and it makes you even more itchy to get back in the ring, because you're watching and you're like, oh man, this stuff's getting good. But like everyone else, I'm sure I'm indulging in all the binge-worthy Netflix series that everyone else has. Tiger King, of course. I told the story of on my podcast about making a trip there before a show in Oklahoma to Joe Exotic's Tiger Zoo, randomly, obviously years ago before any of this blew up. So now it's kind of crazy to see it from the other side. of the fence, no pun intended. But it's for me. I'm a giant wrestling fan, so right now is definitely catch up season on any wrestling that I've been missing out on.
Okay. I'll start with Madison Square Garden because I thought about you a lot last week. It was like you said, the 1 year anniversary of G1 Supercard, Madison Square Garden. You win the Ring of Honor World title in that ladder match. It was for a small town East Texas kid like me to be able to cover something like that in the Garden was a dream come true. I know that was a dream come true for you, and I loved what you posted on ROHWrestling.com, that blog you posted. And one of the things that really caught my eye, kind of a fun little part of that story, was you talking about you were trying to find the sign in Madison Square Garden where every champion, boxing, wrestling, you name it, poses in front of. And you and Dalton Castle were going pretty much all over the arena trying to find that sign. And then after you win the title, one of the MSG staffers comes to get you to go pose in front of the sign, and you're going, "Hey, Dalton, come on, we found we're going to see the sign." You think, that was such a great moment, and you think about that. I gotta imagine, especially last week, that was on your mind, and of course you wrote that wonderful post on ROHWrestling.com. Just kind of reflect back on that and how special that was, not only for you but the entire Ring of Honor roster and the wrestling world in general.
So a crazy story about the sign is that sign's in a freight elevator. Like you would never find it in a million years. And Madison Square because it's obviously connected to Penn Station, and you got the theater, and there's just people everywhere, and there's a million floors. Madison Square Garden is a confusing place as it is. So there we are, just having a tough time finding our locker room in general. But me and Dalton are like, we gotta find that sign. I gotta find where the sign is. And at the end of the night, when they opened the door to that freight elevator, you would have thought, someone just opened the door to Willy Wonka's factory for me. My eyes lit up, and I saw it. I was like, it's in a freight elevator. It blew my mind when I saw the doors open for that freight elevator, and there was the Madison Square Garden sign. Right now talking about it, I have this giant smile on my face because it makes me laugh just thinking about it. Because anyone that's been a fan of sports in general knows the significance of Madison Square Garden and posing in front of that sign and with your title belt and what it means, and it means the same to me. So that whole day just seems like such a blur, but it's nice, right now to be able to reflect back on it and watch it for kind of the first time to really watch it and enjoy it. The first couple of times I watch it, I'm watching it, and I'm being so critical of myself and watching for certain things, and now I can sit back and I know how the story ends for the most part, and how the title reign went after that, and I can kind of sit back and enjoy it for what it is. And man, what a special moment for someone like me who grew up in the Northeast, who always knew of, every wrestling icon that I've ever looked up to had a big moment at Madison Square Garden. And it still doesn't seem real to me that I was able to do the same, but it's something that I can hang my hat on forever. And man, it brings me so much happiness just thinking about it's without a doubt the greatest moment of my life so far. But it's hard to put into words, and I'm very appreciative of it. And at the same time, Ring of Honor, every single guy in there still looks at that as we can get back there, we can continue to work and get back to reliving that dream over again. And I have a firm belief, from being a guy that's been in Ring of Honor since before we were just on iPay-per-view, and then seeing the first pay-per-view, and then the arenas getting bigger, and then Madison Square Garden. I've seen this company roll with the punches and be able to recover through thick and thin. And even something like the coronavirus, I'm sure we're going to be able to come back and get right back on our feet. But man, what a special moment! What an unbelievable moment!
It sure was. I was talking to Carrie Silkin a few weeks ago, and and, talking about that and talking about how Ring of Honor it was catching fire, and you got some great talent coming in and everything. And yeah, I can't wait for this thing to blow over so we can get back to seeing what Ring of Honor can produce. I wanted to ask you this week on Ring of Honor television. They're going to spotlight you talking about some of your favorite matches, and you mentioned one of them was the 60-minute draw with Jay Lethal that led to the Madison Square Garden match. What was it about that match that was special? And you look back at it now in its context leading up to G1 Supercard, how much that, I mean, just talk about the reflection of that match.
Well, I it's funny because in this time period, Ring of Honor is able to do a lot of cool TV stuff. And like, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy these kind of like in-depth looks. And with so much wrestling being go, to take a chance to kind of look back and see the guys, talk about these moments, some of the most compelling stuff that I think's on that you could put on TV right now. But Jay Lethal, he had his spotlight episode a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about being in the ring with guys like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, and talking about what that meant to him, and that he hoped that one day he could be in the same shoes as those guys and mean something to someone else. And I almost laughed at like, how do you not know, Jay? Like, being in the ring with Jay Lethal in that moment is how like his words about being in the ring with AJ is exactly how I felt about being in the ring with him. And so, I almost think like, Jay, you're already doing that. So you are the franchise, like you are the meter stick that everyone's judged against. And it's an unbelievable special thing to be able to be trusted by a guy like that, but to be able to see yourself perform at the level of a guy like that. And I'm sure that going 60 minutes with Jay Lethal in Vegas was definitely not just like I don't know, like a storyline, set up for Madison Square Garden, but I really believe in reality that it was a litmus test for me. Like, it was to see if I had what it takes, and I truly believe that if I blew things, if I don't do good in Vegas, things wouldn't have gone down the way they would have in Madison Square. So I see that match as just having so much pressure on it. And then on top of all that, you're going 60 minutes, which just is a daunting task against anyone. And I'm training, watching every Iron Man match, thinking about like, I obviously have the school up here in New England. So I'm wrestling in the ring and just watching myself, get 40 minutes into a training session and wanting to pass out and thinking, how am I going to go an hour with Jay Lethal? So it's definitely a nerve-wracking task, but to see it go so well and to see myself, really kind of just come to the absolute top of my game, and something that I was telling people that I was at, but to see it actually come to fruition, again, it's hard not to say that Madison Square Garden is the best match and this and that, but my favorite match of all time, it will always be Vegas, because there is no Madison Square Garden without it. And I watch it back now, and I still can't be prouder to be able to go into a situation like that and to deliver with a guy like Jay Lethal.
I remember that match. It was, you went through the roller coaster of emotions, and it was just, it took me back to my childhood watching the 60-minute Broadways with, the likes of Flair and Sting and Dusty Rhodes and those guys, back in the day when a 60-minute match wasn't very uncommon. You would see it every now and again. You don't see them very much nowadays, but you go back, like, again, my childhood in the 80s, especially in the early 80s, that was a very popular staple of a lot of the territory. So, and yeah, you're right. What Ring of Honor is doing right now with their TV and everything, it's a great way to catch up with the history of Ring of Honor. For those, that like you said, may have caught on in the last couple of years. You get to see where Ring of Honor was in the beginning, and all the wrestlers that have come through there, and see some of the great talent. Talk with Matt Taven. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Taven. Before I let you go, you mentioned watching Tiger King and and your trip to Joe Exotic's zoo. Now, Joe has a very, I guess, ancillary connection with pro wrestling.
Yes.
And in fact, for a few months, I got to work with Joe at a wrestling promotion in Sherman when I was doing some ring announcing. So what was your take of Joe Exotic, of the zoo, and what you've seen since?
See, it's funny because we were driving up to Oklahoma City, and we had just had a show in Texas, and we were just driving, and I'm a big I don't know, I'm a big guy. I don't want to say historian or like history buff, but just situations or places that have big significance in history. I always love to check them out and see them for myself. And I'm a big fan of the macabre. And as we're driving up, I'm talking people into go into the Waco compound where the Branch Davidians were. We make a stop there, and everyone thinks I'm like, crazy for bringing them to all these obscure places when they're just trying to get to a show. And now we're just driving, trying to beeline up to the show because I've wasted everyone's time going out to Waco. And we're driving by these billboards, and it's like 240 exotic tigers. And I start looking at everyone in the van. I'm like, I don't know, guys. I think we could have times to squeeze in the zoo. It sounds pretty sweet. And so we see like another billboard, and half the van starts getting on board. And then we finally saw like a billboard, and I could be wrong. Like, this could be my memory playing tricks on me, but I thought Joe Exotic was definitely himself on the billboard with the tiger. And at that point we were like, we have to go. We have to see this place. We have to know what it's all about. And we ended up, squeezing it in on our trip up to Oklahoma City. And I feel bad because, we watch the Netflix documentary now, and you kind of see the mistreatment of animals, and I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't support it. But at the time, it didn't seem like, we had no idea, obviously, and we didn't have the information that we do now. And it's just, we had a good time. I mean, there was a huge zoo. These tigers looked like they had a good amount of room. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of zoos in the first place because I do think that animals probably should be in their natural habitat, but you don't see a tiger zoo that often. And I wanted to go by and check it out, and it didn't seem like anything was necessarily out of the ordinary or being run poorly. And, we had a good little visit, got to see some tigers, and we're out on our way. And it was only years later where a podcast actually came out about Joe Exotic and Carol Baskins and all that stuff, where we started kind of putting the pieces together, and, would text each other and I'd be sending this podcast around to everyone in the van. I was like, remember that place we went to? This guy tried to kill a lady. And so it's kind of just makes for a crazy story to look back on now. But a random trip to a zoo on the way to Oklahoma City is now, the focus of the Netflix world. And who would have thought it 4 years later?
I know. I believe me, when I met him and worked with him a little bit up in Sherman, he was every bit the exotic man that he was portrayed. You're right. I mean, he was always cordial, but he was something else to experience. Talking with Matt Taven. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Taven. By the way, are you still doing you still got some episodes of Take a Bump coming out? Your podcast?
Yes. Our studio is basically right in the heart of a hotspot right now, so we weren't able to get into the studio for the past weeks, but we are doing some recording outside the studio, and we'll be having some new episodes up probably a week from today.
Sounds good. Matt, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. I wish
Likewise.
you all the best with rehab and with the quarantining and everything. And man, I so hope for that day coming soon when I get to see you in the ring with the fans cheering or booing, whatever the case may be. Either way, all the best to you. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll chat again soon.
Hey, my man, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
Matt Taven is one of the really fun guys that I get to talk to on occasion. I don't get to talk to him enough, but it's always good to catch up with him. Make sure you Take a Bump, his podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. A lot of good stuff there, and I know he's chomping at the bit to get back in the ring. He's got to settle this feud with Vincent, his former Kingdom teammate. That has become such a vicious feud in Ring of Honor, so hopefully we will see them real soon. When we come back from this timeout, Justin Smash Simmons will rejoin me. We'll go over the latest that's happening, this concept about Money in the Bank, the corporate ladder. We'll talk about that. Coming up next, Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn.
This is Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. One sweet me. Break it down.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, Stu Myrick, and Justin the Smash Simmons joins me now. Hello, Justin.
What's up, Stu?
So played that in honor of the Young Bucks celebrating 200 episodes of being the Elite. Did you see the 200th episode of BTE with Matt versus Nick?
I did not.
It was a good match.
You look so disappointed.
No, it was fine. The whole episode was just that match.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to go back
Just
and
that
check
match.
it out.
A good match. It was at the BTE compound.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually Nick Jackson's home,
House?
backyard. You know, there's a tennis court. They didn't have the ring. They didn't even have a ring.
Oh, wow.
They've been having on BTE. They had the ring set up on the tennis court where they were doing matches. This was no ring. It was just all over the place. And I believe Matt got the win, but it proved that Nick Jackson is indeed 100% and ready to come back.
Oh, that's right. That's
Wrestle,
right. I forgot
because he's been injured.
He's been hurt.
But yeah, congratulations to Nick and Matt and Kenny Omega and Cody and everybody involved with BTE. 200 episodes. Crazy to think that a little travel vlog about the Bucks becomes like one of the hottest things on YouTube when it comes to wrestling.
Now I want to know, do people call it vlogs or is it a vlog?
I think vlog. I'm old.
I was like, no, that's an interesting way. I never thought of pronouncing it that way, but
yeah.
I think that could work too.
Yeah.
But yeah, 200 episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that I know a little show that's ran more than 200 episodes, but
But
I'm glad they're catching up.
They are. Before we get to Money in the Bank, a couple of things. First of all, AEW Dynamite. So if you're listening to us on the Horn, by the time this airs, this will have already happened. But we record this on Tuesday night. They're doing the TNT title tournament, and one of the first round matches for AEW Dynamite is Kip Sabian taking on our buddy, the honorary third co-host, D-Dog himself, the Natural, Dustin Rhodes. Well, they put out a Road to TNT Championship episode on YouTube where Dustin leaves a voicemail for his brother, Cody, basically saying that if he doesn't beat Kip Sabian, he would retire.
I don't see him losing.
I don't either. I had a chance to talk to Dustin earlier today, and we chit-chatted, and I think he sent out a tweet earlier about being heavy. His head is heavy right now, kind of into his head right now a little bit.
Yeah,
and I got a feeling that's what led to this proclamation.
Maybe. I'm just worried about when you go the retirement, and I know in wrestling nobody ever is truly retired, but the fact that he brings it up now, it just seems like, oh, that's going to be the storyline from here on out for him
Yeah.
until the day he loses. And it's just, I guess that means to me that he's contemplating.
Well, I did get clarification that it is just for this match. This is not like a Ric Flair type of situation.
Okay.
So it's just for this match. So we'll see. I mean, I obviously we don't want to see him retire. I think I would say
only if he comes back as like the Midnight Rider or something like that.
that would be fun. No, I think. I mean, I could see him. Now, remember, Dusty used that when he would get suspended, like when when Jim Crockett had to suspend him for hitting Tully with like a tire iron or something, and then he would come back as the Midnight Rider. I would love to see Dustin as the Midnight Rider.
I think
That would be awesome.
I think it works either way.
That would be awesome. But
To me, the story works out.
either way, I don't want to see Dustin leaving the ring anytime soon. I would say, and a lot of people agree, I think he has looked as good now as he has ever looked.
Yeah, that's what I was just about
It's
to say.
crazy.
He looks so much. I don't want to use the word improve because he's been doing it for so long, but it just looks completely different in there.
He's energized. He's
Yeah.
found the fountain of youth. I've told him
he's-
that
he is hitting
1,000 times.
He is hitting Canadian destroyers. I mean,
It's just crazy. So we'll see what happens. Again, by the time this airs, we'll know what happens. Before we get to Money in the Bank, also, has a WWE champion ever returned to the sport he came from? If you saw the story, and this comes from Adam Schefter from ESPN, their NFL insider, Rob Gronkowski, easy for me to say, is returning to the NFL.
Good
Going to
for Rob.
reunite with Tom Brady. He's joining Tampa Bay. New England traded him and a 7th-round draft pick to Tampa Bay for a 4th-round draft pick. And that'll be the NFL draft coming up on Thursday. Well, let's not forget, Rob Gronkowski is the current WWE 24/7 champion.
yes.
So, which kind
Hey.
of makes things interesting because he's still got the belt, and he's about to head back to football.
Okay.
So WWE, as you know, as timely as they are, they sent out a statement via Twitter. Congratulations to @Rob Gronkowski, the current WWE 24/7 champion, on his return to football. Per the rules of the 24/7 title, Gronk must defend his championship at all times in any location. He could be celebrating a touchdown pass from Tom Brady, ... anytime, anywhere.
You know, I was just about to ask if he has to drop the belt now, but no, they're doing exactly what I thought they would do, and it's brilliant. Let him keep it. Let him become the next Brock Lesnar, the next part-timer.
No, I want to see R-Truth sneak into the Bucks training facility, and Gronk is running run practice, doing an out route, catches a touchdown pass from Tom Brady,
Okay, Stu,
and Gronk
so
is and R-Truth is in the end zone, celebrates with Gronk. There's a referee, 1, 2, 3. R-Truth is the 30 whatever time.
So
24/7
are you
champion.
trying to tell me, and I wish you had some X-Files music because it sounds like this is a huge conspiracy. So you mean to tell me that the WWE signed on with Fox in order to help Tom Brady, who's like buddy with like all the rich folk up in the Northeast area?
Okay, let me stop you there.
Wait. In order to do that, like to make this deal come through for him to sign with Tampa Bay, then coaxed his friend who does love WWE into joining him in Tampa Bay, only for them to work out a deal with Fox because he played in the NFC that they'll have a for sure game on Sunday.
That is a long walk for a drink of water. No, I don't think that. I think it has nothing to do with it.
I don't know. All the dots connect.
You know, we used to joke. Our dear friend John Madani, who used to works with ESPN Radio as a producer and got me into the radio business. We used to, kid him about all of his conspiracy theories. You've picked up a little bit on John. So anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens with Gronk returning as a tight end in the NFL with that 24/7 belt.
You don't want to see him as the next Brock Lesnar in the sense where he's the next big-time part-timer? I mean, that's just brilliant crossover work. Brilliant for a belt. That means, I'm sorry, it has so much prestige.
I have a feeling the Buccaneers might have something to say about that. So,
I think they'll be okay with it.
We'll see.
They need fans too.
We'll see. So, as we mentioned, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view is coming up in, 3 weeks, I think is what it said. And they have announced, since last we were on air, that the Money in the Bank ladder matches will not take place at the Performance Center. They will take place at WWE headquarters.
I know they went King Kong style on this one. It's great.
Basically, what will happen is the match will start on the ground floor, and they will make their way up the building, and the briefcase, and I assume a ring, maybe not a ring, I don't know, but the briefcase will be hanging from something on the roof.
So it's kind
of
of like
WWE headquarters.
It's kind of like that commercial that they had about a decade and a half ago, where everybody was
The Super
fighting
Bowl
in the
commercial.
office. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like that,
Basically,
but
yeah.
in real life.
But yeah, this time it'll be an
Wow.
actual match or two, because the women's match will happen there as well.
We have totally come full circle now.
There you go. By the way, so far, the men's match will have Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Apollo Crews, and Rey Mysterio. There will be 2 more to be added, I suspect, on SmackDown Friday night. Women's match, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Asuka, Dana Brooke, and 2 more. So that's what those are looking at.
I mean, how much
like-
fun was that match with Rey Mysterio?
Oh, it's fantastic. He is so good. I mean, good
I'm surprised he can still do what he does.
I mean, we talked about Dustin Rhodes being an ageless wonder. Rey Mysterio, same thing. Such good shape.
so is Apollo Crews just going to be like cannon fodder essentially for this matchup? Because he was looking horrible and then gets a win here.
I don't know. I hope not.
Like, who's your favorite so far? At least out of the contestants that have already been chosen.
I gotta go Aleister Black, actually.
You think they're going to give him the big push here and allow him to win, especially with Daniel Bryan kind of having like a resurgence of popularity again?
I think they're gonna go with Black.
Because I really like this tandem that he has with Gulak.
And that's why I think they're gonna stick with him as like maybe even a tag team. In a tag team for
I would
now.
love to see him in a tag team if it lessens his workload
Yeah.
to stay healthy.
Yeah.
But I think he still has one more world title running.
Oh,
at least
I
one
totally
more.
agree. But I think he wants to do this too. We've heard about how he kind of wants to back off a little bit. He still wants to wrestle, but he doesn't want to. I'm not sure he wants the load that a world champion, universal champion carries.
Like Brock Lesnar's, like Goldberg's.
No, not that. He doesn't want it that light. So, I'm thinking Aleister Black for the men's, and I'm still going to go with Baszler for the women. I may be wrong, and again, we don't know the rest of the participants.
But not Asuka. She's been like the
I know.
MVP.
I
She's
know.
been so good. She's been so good, and now they don't even have the belts. So them splitting
True.
up just seems. I think she played herself back to a top hand card.
It wouldn't surprise me, but
She's been so good, Stu.
I agree. No, hey, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just based on the booking and what I have read and seen, I get a feeling Baszler. But then again, I thought Baszler would win at Mania. So what do I know?
I think her moment comes at SummerSlam, if there's a
Possible.
SummerSlam.
Or maybe that's when she cashes in the briefcase.
With everything that's going on, this might be the time where Survivor Series becomes a big deal again.
Oh yeah,
Because everything might not clear up to a point to where you have a proper attended match again.
Well, SummerSlam SummerSlam's usually either in LA or New York. They haven't announced. I don't think they've announced a location for it as of yet. But it is possible that Survivor Series might be the first of the big four that actually gets to take place in front of fans.
I'm interested to see what they think right now, because we mentioned on the Wagner Wire on Sunday, they already have plans just in case SoFi is not complete or they can't host an event.
They're working on a plan B, and that could involve Tampa Bay, getting 37 and to make up for 36.
We'll see if we can even attend outings like that again.
That's true.
Just because
That's
they
very
say
true.
we're opening up doesn't mean it's going to be a for sure thing.
There was a story late last week, the mayor of Los Angeles saying that basically he doesn't see concerts or sporting events happening until at least till 2021.
Yeah, the last. I was going to say the last scientific reports that I read, most scientists have said don't expect concerts or attendance like that until fall of 2021 again, if everything goes well.
I think you're right. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, few more nuggets, including the Impact is doing Rebellion. Night 1 has happened. We'll let you know about that, and we'll wrap it up. This is Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, and this is The Horn.
Hey, yo, this is Desmond Xavier, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on The Horn. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons. A couple of notes. First of all, you heard the Matt Taven interview in the first segment. I wanted to let you know that was recorded before we knew about the releases by WWE, including Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis. So that's why we didn't talk about about his former Kingdom teammates now being free agents. So
who was already teasing?
Yeah, but if you look at Twitter, man, they're teasing hard, which I like because, and especially now with Taven on his own, with the rivalry with Vincent, and TK Orion is, I don't know where. Why not? Why not reform the best version of the Kingdom?
Oh, I mean, it'd be a hot angle just coming in at the right timing's everything, and this is a perfect lineup for them.
Ring of Honor tag champs, IWGP Junior Heavyweight tag champs.
Yeah, they got the Rivera jackets. Yeah,
why not? So, before we get into Impact Rebellion, of course, last week as we were going off the air, we found out that Howard Finkel passed away after a long battle with illness. Howard Finkel, he was the true voice of WWE.
He's
for 30-plus years.
WWE employee number 1 on the books, number 1 since day one.
Any of us that have even attempted ring announcing, that's the first voice we think of. That's the first thing. Exactly. He was the one that did the and new. So,
but perfectly. Just two words, but just hit the right notes with that voice.
He was the absolute epitome of class when it came to ring announcing. I mean, it was just fantastic. And a lot of the skits he did, especially back in the 80s with Hulk and with the Bushwhackers and some of the other.
That's right. He teamed up with the Bushwhackers.
I mean, just some great stuff. And then,
he had the Whippleman feud.
That's right. He
won the tuxedo match.
Back in, what was it, 2012, they did the Legends House.
Yeah, that's right. He was on Legends House.
He was in that. So, anyway, rest in peace. Rest well. Howard Finkel, thoughts and prayers to his family and friends. A huge loss. We also lost Joe Pedicino.
Man.
Who was a long-time wrestling personality. Did the This Week in Wrestling with Gordon Soley. I remember him from the GWF days when GWF was at the Sportatorium. And he would do that segment with Bonnie Blackburn, or Bonnie Blackstone, excuse me.
Who eventually became his wife.
Yeah, just fantastic. And just, again.
The guy really hustled and he really loved professional wrestling. And I didn't really know about him that much until I went back and saw Pro Wrestling This Week on YouTube. And you can go back and look at this stuff on YouTube. And it's great stuff to get a feel for how it was back in the heyday of the rock and wrestling era during the 80s. But he had a big vision. He would bring on Bill Apter and stuff, but he had a lot of vision for the business. He really loved it and gave a lot of guys like Sean Waltman and some others their start on a chance to be seen nationally before making their way to greener pastures.
Right. Sean Waltman was the Lightning Kid in GWF long before ever becoming the 1-2-3 Kid.
Yeah.
So, anyway, rest in peace to Joe Pedicino.
Wait, we're losing all the good ones.
I know.
Man. I mean, the classics, the guys with the good minds for the business that really loved the business.
Yeah. Real quick, Impact Wrestling, they decided to do this Rebellion pay-per-view over 2 Tuesday nights. The first one was last night. Among the results, the only championship that was defended was the X Division title, and Willie Mack defeated Ace Austin. He is now the new X Division champion. So
good for Willie Mack.
Good on Willie. Love Willie to death. The main event was an unsanctioned match. Ken Shamrock basically made Sami Callihan pass out in an ankle lock. And this was after they wrestle, they fight into the back. They're in the back, and all of a sudden, here comes OVE, the Chris brothers and Madman Fulton, to attack Shamrock. And Sammy gets up and starts attacking OVE because he wanted to do this by himself.
Yeah.
Then they head outside, they fight. Eventually, Shamrock gets the ankle lock on Sammy. Sammy passes out. And so Ken Shamrock gets the win.
So we're saying Sammy face turn?
I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like.
Whoa,
We'll see.
Really? I mean, this is classic Austin face turn.
I know,
setup.
but it ends with Sammy passed out. You don't see anything else afterwards. So I don't know if that's a face turn or if this is just...
I think that's already telling you the story of like, hey, this is like the resilient guy that, yeah, he might be scum on the top, but deep down he has the heart of gold.
I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what happens afterwards. Night 2 is next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on Access TV. Among the matches, Full Metal Mayhem, Rosemary taking on Havoc, Joseph Ryan taking on Jake Diener. They will address the future of the World Championship because Tessa Blanchard, who is the current world champion, she was supposed to face Eddie Edwards and Michael Elgin in a triple threat match. Well, Tessa is currently stuck in Mexico. And Eddie has, and I didn't catch the rest of the story, but basically Eddie isn't wrestling in this match. So Michael Elgin's standing by himself.
So he's the new champion?
We'll see. We'll find out next Tuesday.
I was like, I mean, that seems like a forfeit to me. You know, if it's a triple threat match and the champion's not showing up and the other competitor isn't showing up, but Elgin's going to be there, I think you win by default.
It may be, but again, we'll find out next week. They're going to address it next week.
Make him champion.
Anyway, so catch that next week. By the way, Cassius Ohno, released by NXT. He is now back to Chris Hero. Had a great video on his Twitter feed. And the Revival are now the Revolt. And it is not Dash Wilder, it's Cash Wheeler. And not Scott Dawson, it's Dax Harwood.
I'll learn those names eventually. But
yeah,
it just seems the inevitable FTR.
Fear the Revolt.
Versus BTE.
That's what everybody's hoping for.
But what happens if they end up somewhere like at Ring of Honor instead, or would you be like immensely disappointed?
There's no, because they could still do it. There's a rumor they might go to the NWA first.
I think they need to make a pit stop there just because their gimmick is built around that style of wrestling.
Especially if you do the Crockett Cup.
Oh, can you imagine they showed up at Crockett Cup? Oh my God,
that needs to happen.
That would be amazing. Can you imagine if they had to take on like the Rock and Roll Express at the end of the Crockett Cup?
Fantastic.
That'd be great.
Because we've said all along, they are the reincarnation of Tully and Arn.
Oh, well, you can just tell the people from Impact and tell Billy and tell the WWE to send the checks over here.
That's right.
Because we just figured out their whole plan for the next couple of shows.
That's right.
All in this show.
You can catch them on Twitter, find out where they are going. Now that for this week's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, you can follow Justin Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are proud to be the official broadcast partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and proud to be part of the great lineup you hear every day on the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns. We are The Horn. Catch us Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Central on The Horn, or catch us anytime on demand by going to hornfm.com and click on the on-air tab, or subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. My thanks to Matt Taven for joining us, and our thanks to you for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. For Justin, I'm Stu. We will see you very soon at the matches.
Goodbye and good. Mwah.